Right, I have had quite a frustrating day working from home in the lockdown, as I'm sure many of you have as well. Part of the problem being IT and trying to connect computers to things which aren't used to connecting to things. I did have an opportunity to go to the office though on Monday, so I grabbed some more tools and bits and pieces. One of the bits is that which was actually chopped off the diesel. And the reason I brought it home is because I want to use it to help me repair that bit. Because on the diesel I chopped this off. Originally I was going to weld it back onto the diesel, but of course that's now going to get full wing. So this bit is left over, and what I'm trying to do now is work out whether that can be saved and used as a complete repair panel, or whether I'm gonna put it in the bin but use it for templating, or use the other wing for templating. But first of all I want to work out how rotten it is, so I need to pick off the remains of that inner sill or inner wheel well and then clean it up. It looks pretty crappy. I was always going to put a new lower return on it, but I was hoping to retain most of the metal. I'm not sure if that's going to be possible though, but I'll clean it up and see what it looks like. So I've been attacking it with the wire. Notice no Crocs and pyjamas today. They've had quite a few comments, many of them not particularly positive. More so on the Crocs than the pyjamas, which I find interesting, but never mind. Yeah, there's no point me trying to patch that up and weld that in, because that's all pitting corrosion. There's almost certainly crap trapped in that seam. I would have to chop off and weld on new returns all the way around and replace that bit. So I'm going to attempt to make it out of sheet steel. The obvious problem being that this is not just one nice curve, it's a concave shape there, it flares that way, it opens out here. That is pretty much flat, which is easy, and that's just a 90-degree return, which is easy, but you can see the level of crimping they had to do there to get that to follow round. I think it's probably going to be a complete ball ache, but might as well have a go and do some learning along the way, me as well as anyone else watching this. I've gone and got my good wing out, because that, I don't, there's no point copying something that's crap. And I'm doing a bit of cardboard engineering, so just marked on where I want to work down from, and then mark those lines so I can keep offering my template up and down to this. I've marked on the back roughly where I need to cut, and I'm going to start out not bothering with the flanges but just with that centre section, get the cardboard the right size, then transfer it onto my steel, avoiding the temptation to eat stuffing, and then I'll mark the flanges on this before I cut it out once I'm happy, but I don't really care about having them on the cardboard at this stage. So I shall continue doing that. I'll deliberately cut it oversized because my bending techniques are probably going to be quite rudimentary and crude and a bit of a guess, and it might be that I happen to get the perfect curve but nowhere near where it should be relative to that line, so I'm not even going to bother. Just going to make sure I've got a big enough piece of steel in there, try and get that curve in it, which is the crucial one, bend a kind of concave shape in that bit, then worry about that bit and that bit afterwards. So there's my crappy undersized template. There's my generously cut out piece of steel with a lot of metal around it. That is my attempted folding line, so I'm going to chop this out. Again, I don't mind about a bit of wastage because I have actually bought myself some more steel, but it just gives me the flexibility so that if I happen to get that bit nice but somewhere in the wrong place, I can trim the edges off and get it where they need to be. As might become plainly obvious in the next few moments, I'm not a panel beater or a fabricator. I generally fit panels that are already roughly the right shape. So as for technique, I have none whatsoever. What I do have is a piece of tube that has a bend or a curve in it, which is not so far off that. So I'm hoping that if I lay this on here and just gentle pressure, I'll start to get that fold. Then I'll turn it around, do the same there to get that one. How I'm going to get that kind of scalloped flare in there, I don't really know. I'm hoping I can do it afterwards with hand pressure. And the other thing that's occurred to me is I can probably make that return on the car by offering my skin up onto top, cutting slots in the leading edge, and then just folding it round the inner sill that I already have on the car. Not inner sill, sorry, I keep getting the word wrong, but whatever that bit is, yeah? Because that's how they terminate. So the bottom one I should be able to get in quite nicely. That hole won't be a problem. And once I am happy with the height of this, I can actually trim the top bit to shape on the car again by putting the grinder in on end. So really, for the moment, all I care about is getting that bend in, that bend in, that bit of dish, and then trimming it off somewhere sensible so that I can hammer that return in. So yeah, I'm just gonna have a whirl, see what happens. And if I could, I'd put some 80s like montage music in over the top of my video, but I'm not that technically savvy, so you'll have to, I don't know, work out your own music. You can kind of see the idea of what I'm trying to achieve. Maybe that should have come a bit further that way before I bent it up. But as somebody else pointed out in a video the other day, you're never going to see both sides of the car at the same time, so maybe it doesn't matter. Kind of getting somewhere useful. Just trying to introduce the beginning of a curve there. It's buckled a bit here, but that's not so problematic. My curve there is a little bit steeper than I would like, but again, I don't think that really matters because I can kind of piss the whole of this panel round because I've left it deliberately big. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So if I try and mark that bit with my, like, you know, just look at that bit, move it away. I think my corner starts down here, so I'm going to move that bit up. But after that, I think I might start trimming this bit down and trying to put that return in, and then I can go and offer it up to the car. While I've got the opportunity, I'm going to go and find a hole saw and see if I can pop that through now, because trying to nibble that out with the Dremel or something afterwards will probably be a pain in the butt, and I'll do a much neater job now, I think, while that's still basically flat. Cool. Don't want to lose that or that. It might look like I'm rushing, it's because it's getting dark. And I'd rather do this all in one hit if I can. might have noticed I've deliberately left this a bit long because the original panel has a little return on the bottom. So I've cut mine long, and then when it's on the car I'll just grab some pliers and bend the end and hammer it over. That hole could be flared out a little bit more, so it could kind of come down like that at an angle over here somewhere, so I can trim that off when it's on the car. Otherwise I'm just going to keep on going until I can offer it up to the car and see how it's fitting. We're getting somewhere now. Well, you know, vague recollection of the same sort of shape. It's probably... Where's my pen? There's my pen. Let's go and have a look what it looks like on the car. Just been pouring up that bit of old outer sill which came out of there, and then I've marked on the bottom of the sill down here where this panel needs to end. I sound like an Australian, everything's a question rather than a statement. Right, so that's going in somewhere like that. So that's not so far off. Good thing is that drain hole, I'm pretty sure it ends in and around here anyway. So water runs down the inner, whatever that is, and then out of that bit. So I don't think we're a million miles away. What I might do now is actually put that rear edge in with reference to that hole using the other wing, then hammer that over. And then that is one edge sort of finalised, and I can work my way towards the front afterwards, if you get me. Somewhere, well, I have no idea whether it's close, but it's kind of fitting the same kind of profile as this. From behind looked like that. That's why I'm trying to replicate it, so not so far off. It's looking all right. Let's go back to the car with my pen. Oh. Oh, fuck me. Ah. Looking alright now. So I want to cut it. Really what I need to do now is seam seal or paint, red oxide, all that bit, seam seal it, and then weld that bit of sill on, and actually the bit that's supposed to go in there as well. I can't really do any more to that panel until those bits are on, because the bottom of this, that bit, needs to be shaped to sit on top of there. So I could spend ages shaping that lovely, and then finding that actually by the time you put those other bits on top, incidentally, one of them finishes there, where that indentation is, on there, does that. And the other bit, yeah, sits on top of here as well, so it'll build the thickness of that panel out as well. So that'll have to be done first. So what I'll do, get the red oxide, clean that bit up, paint it, and then I can seam seal that when that's gone off, probably tomorrow. Weld that bit on top, put that bit back in, and then the wing finally on top. But it's damn cold now, so I'm going to do some cleaning and some painting and probably call it a night. You might or might not remember that I welded upside down in there, right up high, so I'm just trying to get that bit too. That's about done. I'm just going to wait for it to go off so I can seam seal it. It's quite important to seam seal this bit because it's where water runs down the inside, and I don't want it to collect in any of these seams again. There's another very minor updatey thing. I showed yesterday this area down here and the B pillar. And how, well, rotten it was. Well, again, left over from the diesel project, I have this section of lower quarter cut out of another car. What I was thinking about doing is chopping this up, repairing that horribly pigeon welded section, and then having it ready to go on here as a kind of bandage. But really, I'm not sure I'd be gaining much, because I'm going to be doing that same amount of work to this bit if I was to put that bit in, I'd have to unpick all the way up here. You know, I'm just adding more work to myself. What I'm going to have to do is excavate in here and work out how bad it is. Then after that, I'll be able to make an assessment as to whether to put something like that in or whether just to repair that area. Yeah, that's my thoughts really. What would have been nice is if the rust had been just there and no higher, which kind of is apart from that bit. But my concern now is if I put another bit on there, am I just trapping rust and is it just going to come back through? So we've got quite a lot of pitting corrosion there. Don't worry about these bits, they can all just piss off out the way. But here, I want to be able to guarantee that I mean, it isn't falling apart. But it'd be silly to make that nice, weld it on there, and then that just blow out. So I think at the very least I'm going to have to take some more meat out of here. And that makes sense anyway, because that bit needs to be done. So I might chop through here, chop through there, chop out up to there. That is actually quite good. There's no evidence of any rust in that seam, which is nice to know. But there is some holes here, so I might have to chop that bit off anyway to repair that bit. So, as per usual, chasing rust. That I knew about and don't really care. It's all easy. Yeah. I need to remind myself how thick these are as well. I think they're 1.5 mil rather than 2. It looks like it when you look at that top of that edge there, and that's good because I've got loads of that. 2 mil must be a bit too thick for cars, surely. So yeah, at least I know I'll have the correct gauge steel to repair all of this anyway. The lip's good, so hopefully I'll just need like a 90-degree return. Annoyingly, I don't know what I've done with my metal folder. I thought I'd left it at work, but I can't find it, so maybe I took it down my dad's place. B-pillar area. I'm so tempted to just hack that out now, because I'm sort of in that kind of mood, but I think I will leave it for another day. I was hoping the red oxide would have gone off enough for me to start seam sealing this. You can just see it's gone off here and here, but where I've put it in thicker, which is where I need to seam seal, it's still a bit wet. So I might have to invest in a heater maybe in the future. I don't have a heater, but what I do have is quite a warm bulb. I know they're meant to be LED, or you know, they do actually get quite hot, so it's already doing something. Promising. Well, I know I should wait for this to go off properly, but I really can't be bothered. I'm in a kind of doing things mood, so I will get on with the seam sealing and hope that it all goes off and works out fine, which I'm sure it will. It'll just probably take longer, that's all. I don't want seam sealer on that bit because I've got to weld on there, and I don't want it to all burn off in a stupid crazy way. Get on there like that. Incidentally, I know from previous experiences that it does actually go off eventually. They seem to get digested by the same sorts of solvents as well, so this is going to get messy, but I am confident that it's going to work. I'm just being rather impatient. Cool. The whole point of doing this, obviously you don't really need to do it, it's just where you've got lumpy bumpy bits where there's been welding going on, it's a perfect point for rust to start from. Whereas if I seam seal it, oh cock, I probably should have done that bit as well. Yeah, if you seam seal it, it just gives it that added layer of protection, additional layer of protection I should say. What have I done with that? There it is. Safety squint. Cool. Right, I'm gonna probably go in now. I'm not sure whether I'm gonna upload this because I haven't actually ticked anything off, but I might, just because people are probably bored at home with COVID-19, and so am I, so I'll upload it anyway. See you later.